so other students who weren't able to attend at that time would be able to, you know, go back and rewatch it?
Oh, you bet.
Awesome. 2 more joining, yay. Yeah, Arden, I can also tell my laptop is starting to lag a little bit with sharing everything.
Yeah, now you see the struggle of presenting on Teams.
Hello, Dr. Lynch.
Hello.
I cannot hear you. I see you moving your mouth, but I can't hear you. She typed, hello, everyone. Oh, all right. She needs to reboot her computer.
All the joys of working and learning remotely.
Yeah, I know. I know. We all should be experts by now, but it still happens, you know? I don't know. Okay, we're still a little short on attendees. Let's give them a minute, and then we're ready. All right, I think everybody else can just later watch the recording. I would say let's get started on our time or on a both time. First of all, I want to thank you everybody for coming. This is going to be a hopefully really great event, and everybody's going to enjoy it. I know, and of course, a special thank you to our speaker Bill Guthrey today, our land or corporate land development expert. I know Arden, our president, wants to get a word in before we really dive in. So Arden, that's your time to shine.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Bill, for being here. This is going to be a good event, and especially a good event to look back on in the recording and everything. So yeah, just thank you for being here. I just really quick want to remind everyone that applications for the Born to Build Leadership Roundtable series with Herb Weitzman are due this Friday, and that's 3 days from now, I believe. So get your applications in. And for those who don't know about this series, I put a link in the chat box with more information about it, as well as the application link. So you can just take those after the event and apply from there. Herb Weitzman is the founder of the Herbert D. Weitzman Institute for Real Estate here at UT Dallas, and he's the founder of Weitzman. And the general breakdown of each meeting is we'll go over 1 to 2 chapters of this book, if you can see it, Herb Weitzman's book. And we'll kind of bring what you read in each chapter into an open discussion with Mr. Weitzman about the real estate market, job opportunities, everything like that. We designed this program mainly to get you direct career advice from someone with over 60 years of experience in the industry. So it's definitely a priceless opportunity, and the deadline is this Friday again. So if you have any questions, reach out to me through GroupMe or email. And thank you, Sina, for letting me interrupt and give that whole spiel.
Absolutely. I think this is a really great opportunity, and I would want to encourage everybody to apply. Let's get back to our land development event. I want to give a quick rundown of what we're going to be talking or what we're going to be doing today. So first of all, I'm going to introduce Bill. Bill's going to introduce himself a bit, and he's going to talk a little bit about his company, KDC, how he's working for, and what KDC does. Then we do want to discuss a little bit about what is a land development, what is corporate land development, what are some differences maybe compared to some other forms of corporations. And we're gonna be heading on to a case study. This case study is, I had a preview, and it looks awesome. I think this is gonna be probably the most interesting part. Sorry, Bill, I think everything's going to be interesting, but like this is the gem of the presentation, really. Then Bill's going to give us a little bit of advice for a career in commercial real estate and land development, and maybe what skills or abilities would be good to possess if you're interested in pursuing that. And at the end, we're going to have a live question and answer. But I do want to encourage you to really chime in with questions at any point. I think that especially for the case study, it's going to be really important if you're interested in why a certain thing was done that way, that you raise that at that point. So please feel free to just unmute yourself. Bill and I were going to give you some time to speak in between, but even if it's mid-sentence, please feel free. We do want this to be very engaging. We want you to be able to benefit as much as possible from this event, and as much as possible from being able to talk to someone like Bill in a relatively intimate setting. So questions are more than encouraged. All right. Now, before Bill goes ahead and introduces himself, I want to illustrate to all of you what an honor it is to have him here and have him talk to us. Bill is, by the way, a UT Dallas alumni, and he is also on the board of the UT Dallas Real Estate Advisory Board. He has played an important role in bringing the program, the real estate program at UTD, really to where it is today. So for that, I think all of us, including me, really want to thank you. And again, thank you for taking the time to talk to us today.
No, super happy to be here and proud. Yeah, just to be invited. And before I forget, Herb Weitzman and his commitment to UTD, and any opportunity you can get to cross paths with him. He was an icon when I came to town in 1985, and it's hard to believe he's been in the industry that long, and crazy healthy, young, and going like a maniac. So take any and every advantage of opportunities like that. And yeah, super proud of my MBA at UTD. The short story is, I was convinced when I got into the real estate business that everybody in the room was smarter than me. I kind of was my own worst enemy. And so I wondered, can I get an MBA? Short story is, what you're doing is awesome. It's okay to ask questions any and every time along the way. Again, I kind of share, I held myself back, I think, from getting information. So meet with Herb Weitzman, call me. Take advantage of these opportunities. There are no dumb questions. This real estate landscape and the opportunities are just numerous. I've listed some here at the end now that I kind of know all the opportunities in commercial real estate. So just anxious to be a part of that conversation. So I've been at KDC since 1995. Used to be Kohl Development Company, K-O-L-L Development Company. And we are essentially rifle focused on single tenant build to suit development. So call it a custom home builder for corporate America. You know, some company needs or would like a new place to house their operations. So that's what we are doing at KDC. And my role in land development has been either one, going and finding the site. If somebody says, hey, we want to look at an office building in Oklahoma City or wherever it may be, we're super busy here in Texas and North Texas with this market that we're all experiencing, despite this big timeout with COVID. But it's just finding the right site to meet some corporate users' needs. And so let's go to the next slide, please.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is our rifle focus. And 10 years ago, we used to love to be able to go out LBJ Extension or up 114 into South Lake and buy 10 acres to build our corporate office project for, let's say, Citigroup. And the question back then used to be, okay, where's the restaurants, retail, and multifamily? And, you know, we could point 2 intersections away where you can find those services. The short story is, about 8 years ago, there was a big shift in corporations. And I used to joke when I got out of Texas Tech, if I got a job in Clovis, New Mexico, I was going to Clovis. So I was going to go find that job, and the employers, were really, the employees were chasing the employers. Now there's such a war for talent. People like you, the employers are competing to get the best folks in the door. So for every 5 jobs corporate America has, there's 3 qualified candidates like you. And so these companies have realized the tables have turned. We need to oftentimes create a really special place, because the consumer, which is you, and the individuals they need to run their operations are discerning, and they know they have options. And so this is a generalization, but essentially getting out of school, you can say, I'm moving to Phoenix, I'm moving to Denver, I'm Dallas, Austin, Houston, Atlanta, Charlotte, because I know I'll find a job there. And so these companies are growing in those major markets, chasing employees. So next slide, please.
Sure. So, Bill, may I just interrupt and ask,
Yes.
So who are you developing for?
Yep.
Where are you developing? And what are you developing? Just to clarify to everybody.
So here in town, a perfect example would be State Farm off of 75 Central in George Bush, close to UTD. And that was the paradigm shift. State Farm was headquartered in, and is still in, Illinois. 10 years ago, they got 10 top interns across the U.S., had them come to, trying to remember the small town in Illinois, and had a great summer experience, extended job offers to those 10 star students, and nobody took the job offer because nobody wanted to live in Bloomington. And so State Farm built what you see now at City Line. It's a major super hub in Atlanta as well, and one in Phoenix. They call them super regional hubs. And because they knew they could get the employees in these major, vibrant environments. You've seen that for Charles Schwab moving out of San Francisco, doing very special developments in Denver and Southlake here in town. And they've now said, we're moving our headquarters from San Francisco to Southlake. And so it is corporate America, lots of banks, Amazon would be a perfect target for us, Nokia, just whoever might be building a new office project.
Right. So you start building when you have a lease contract, right? You don't build spec. That's the business of a merchant builder. You first secure the tenant, and then you build according to their specifications. Is that exactly what I'm understanding?
You're exactly right. And so you'll see office buildings go up on a speculative basis all over any major market. And what we're focused on is a single tenant build-to-suit project. And the opportunity there, what's required for that to happen is to have a company who can look 3 years out for a delivery versus, hey, we're moving to Dallas and we need to occupy something in 6 months. So you'd find existing space and existing building. But the argument for a build-to-suit is it's purpose-built, so it's designed around your operations. There may be some unique floor plates or power requirements or maybe a lab component. But if you're a big company with a credit, again, you all are all over the finance side of things, the risk associated with building that real estate, because I've got a signed lease with State Farm that says I'll take it in 2 years, the return on investment, the capital return costs are much tighter or lower because the value of the credit tenant who's already signed a 12 or 15 or 20-year lease. So we're building almost a coupon that a REIT, an insurance company, a wealthy family would want to own. I got a 20-year lease with State Farm on 1 million feet. And so doing the math, we might build it to an 8% initial return on cost and then go sell it. Once we've taken all the development, construction, and financing risk and built a performing asset, we may go sell it at a 6 cap or a 5.75 or a 5.5. And so that's where we make our money, is delivering, taking the risk between lease signing and construction, and then building a performing asset. So to your point, Sina, a merchant builder, we're building assets that will be sold most probably to a group of buyers who just have return requirements and want to buy a stable asset.
Okay, interesting, thank you. Now, if you're referring to corporate real estate, what really can one understand under like corporate real estate? And then I know there's a CoreNet. What is that association?
Yeah, so CoreNet is a corporate real estate network. It's an association, and I'm fortunate. I'm the president of CoreNet North Texas. You could look it up, and we are anxious for you all to get involved and have scholarships for students. And again, it's a great opportunity to get in a room with developers and people who are meeting corporate real estate needs in terms of a service provider. You may have furniture vendors, architects, title companies, and as well, you'll have corporate real estate executives, somebody who's over facilities for State Farm. UTD's campus has, a whole host of real estate managers that may be managing the facilities, managing the operations, overseeing development. I'm trying to remember who our friend there who oversees, Calvin Jameson at UTD, the master plan. So you'll be in a room and see programs that offer the opportunity to share thoughts. And there's also an MCR designation, Masters of Commercial Real Estate, where you can get a designation, and you may start a job at AT&T in real estate, and they'll help you then get another unique designation in MCR. And then you could end up being, again, in that real estate department, helping the CFO or the CEO make real estate decisions for the company. And those decisions are going to be, do we lease, do we own, do all the math, under the wisdom of doing any of those things, and help come up with a real estate strategy.
Well, isn't real estate fascinating? And it has just so many different jobs and varieties and nuances that I feel sometimes as a student it's really hard to get an insight into all.
Oh yeah, it is.
So I hope that those events that we're putting on help students to figure out where they want to go with this, with their career in real estate, really. And so at this point, I do want to ask if we have any questions before we dive into the case study.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. If someone wants to join CoreNet, how do they join? And is there like a student membership or something?
Yeah, I will follow up with a quick, easy path for doing that. We're doing exactly what you're doing, which right now is meeting virtually via Zoom, but we're having presentations and project tours. But God willing, this spring we'll open up and start meeting a little more in person. So I'll give you guys a path and a link to our North Texas chapter.
Okay, awesome. And I think Abhishek has a question.
Hello.
Hi.
So I was just asking a few people about having a career in real estate. So I'm just shifted to Dallas like a month back. But a lot of people told me that to have a career in real estate, you need to have a H-1B or you need to have a green card. So what should I do about this?
Yeah, I don't have the expertise to answer that question as relates to, your status and having a green card. Sorry about that.
Okay.
And also, you can shoot me an email, and I'll connect you with someone who might have an answer to that question. So I'll
Sure.
shoot you a message and attach my email.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Abhishek. All right. If we have no other questions at this point, then let me see. Let's dive into our case study.
And why don't we go? So it's about making a place that is attractive. And again, what's interesting about asset classes, there's multifamily, there's retail, there's entertainment, and I've got a list of those here at the end of this presentation, and office and hospitality. And the short story is these employees and employers are looking for oftentimes a mixed use environment. And that's what we're going to look at today. So that, you got this quality of life that offers not just the office experience, but you've heard it before, a place to live, work, and play, the places that we all like to gather. And it's the same thing that's happening on UTD campus in terms of serving a different kind of time in the day for the student. So we could go down to the next slide, please. It's important to know, we've got a partner here. Seritage Growth Properties is a big REIT, real estate investment trust, that bought 180 Sears locations nationally. And they either re-tenant those Sears. Some of these Sears are still operating. Some were positioned to be closed and demolished and completely reimagined. And so that's what we're fortunate to be doing. And you guys can watch it happen here in town at LBJ and Preston, the northwest corner. Used to be the Valley View Mall. It looks like a war zone right now. But let's go to the next clip. And so what we did with Seritage was come up with a master plan. So we can go to the next slide, please. To imagine what could happen at Preston and LBJ, which very high profile. This is great right here. And we had a big demolition day. That was the previous slide. We had the mayor come out, and this was big news. But you're looking at 23 acres. Used to be a Sears, and you all may know malls. If you see a Sears and a Macy's and a Dillard's and a JCPenney's, and then the mall proper, you have all these different owners. It's not all owned and leased, oftentimes by any given owner. So it can be a hodgepodge of sites. But what you're looking at is the next iteration of what was a suburban mall, now in the heart of Dallas, and wanting to be. The market says you can build multifamily, you can build high-rise office. The land is worth so much more than the rent you might get from a single retailer surface park on 23 acres. So it's all about economics and market demand. But this puts things in perspective. The city of Dallas came up with a PD, a planned development, that rezoned everything from Preston all the way over to the Galleria. So 430 acres that now has a Target in it. It has some older residential, this old suburban mall, that's the AMC that's still standing there. But everything else has been demolished because essentially the market is saying to an owner, let's say you owned a piece of real estate and it's occupied by, just a little 7-Eleven, that makes you some good money. But if you built it into dense multifamily, you can make 10 times as much money. So it's market forces that are causing things like this to happen. So next slide, please. This is the PD that I'm talking about. And so we're communicating to brokers in corporate America, this midtown planned development in the city of Dallas, here's what's happening. There are some new developments, including some apartments, and I'm putting our pink site, our hyper-focused venture, in perspective for a client or a broker who we hope will bring us corporation. So next slide, please. And this just is drilling down a little further to these 23 acres, because people ask, well, who owns the acreage to the north or to the west? And you'll see that Toll Brothers in purple have plans for a couple multifamily projects. And if we'll keep going, the next site puts the site in perspective for somebody who is or isn't from Dallas-Fort Worth, but the question's asked, where are the smart, educated workforce? Okay, UTD, SMU, UTA, where are the airports? If I have somebody that lives in different parts of the Metroplex, how do I get there? So we're just putting the site in context. Next site, please. And we're starting to drill down to the placemaking. What do we have? Why is it relevant? And we're starting to provide a narrative. And so you can imagine this exists in a brochure on our website, and you'll see some other marketing tools. Next slide, please. Again, just helping understand where it is and why. We were fortunate as a company to have built for Toyota up in Plano, 2 million feet, Liberty Mutual at 1 million feet in Legacy West, FedEx, you all probably familiar with some of those projects, 10 miles to the north. And then here's Park Heritage on LBJ Freeway, halfway between downtown Dallas and all of that activity that happened in the suburbs. And so we're convinced this is where the next big, dense urban development is going to occur. And next slide, please, will be a perspective. So you've gone from a old single-story Sears, which essentially occupied this bottom right corner, and we're looking towards downtown Dallas, and we're showing, 2.3 million feet of dense urban 100% structured parking environment, all centered around 3-acre park. So if you've been to Clyde Warren Park in Uptown, you should go see that, because it's a 3-acre park, and just the energy and the feeling you get, even in an urban environment around an open space like that. And so we'll go to the next slide, please.
Bill, I have a question.
Yeah.
That might be easy to visualize here.
Yep.
So if you're saying you have your brokers out there looking for that one big tenant, do I understand correctly that that one big tenant would occupy like all of the office space in here, or would like only this one big building in the front that I see be occupied by that tenant, and then another one would be occupied by another tenant?
Yeah, good question. And the answer could be, we will see. So we're trying to create a catcher's mitt, if you will, for demand, and we don't know what the market's going to bring us. We are so fortunate that State Farm brought us 2 million feet in 4 towers. So this could essentially be the next State Farm 4-tower campus. You've got 2 office buildings contemplated on LBJ. And then you see the boutique office on Preston. And then in the foreground is another office above a grocery store and above retail. And then it's multifamily in the bottom right corner, and then mid-rise residential or multifamily, again, facing that park. So it's a mixture of and a nice combination of uses, but we don't know if we might just build one building for Google, which would be great, and then we'll see who comes next. A REIT like Seritage may build speculatively because the market seems so compelling. We and they may build a speculative office, but it's to be determined. So we're trying to just position the real estate. And it's interesting to note, Toll Brothers in the bottom right corner is ready to go. So they may be the first domino to go this summer at Midtown, we build the park, and we build some of these other components, but no big office until somebody comes and tells us exactly what they want.
Okay.
I also have a quick question.
Yeah.
So the space or the visual that we're looking at right now, this was repurposed from an old Sears or
Yep.
mall concept, if I'm hearing that right. Right?
Yeah, and it's not repurposed. The Sears is demolished.
Right.
And yeah, you'll get these slides later too, but yeah, these are the 23 acres in a dense urban concept.
It's kind of amazing to think about. Do you see a lot of those concepts like big box, like retail, being repurposed for things like this in the future, especially since a lot of them are going out of business?
Yeah, great question. And so picture 180 of these locations across the US. There's probably 5 that are this dense and intense, meaning, you know, you're in such a compelling location. You see downtown Dallas there to the south and everything that's happening in Dallas-Fort Worth. And you're at the corner of, we will market this of Main and Main for Dallas-Fort Worth. Point being at an intersection that can deliver people from all directions. Yeah, so this density, this is the most intense and fun project I've ever worked on. We may have a 10-acre site out by DFW Airport that has 3 70,000-foot, 3-story surface parked office buildings, which still are very compelling investments. They're just, and have a 7-Eleven and a McDonald's drive-through. Nothing special, but it's brand new. It's still super fun real estate to develop, but this is the most dense and intense mixed use integrated project I've gotten to work on.
Wow.
It's just different, and it's a different price point too. And again, it's like you looking for a place to live. This is going to be expensive for all occupants relative to existing space. And the question is, do you see value in that? Is it important for your business model, or are you a successful, you know, gainfully employed individual and you just want to live in a darn nice apartment complex with a pool on the roof and a awesome park out front, because that's where you are, your stage in life.
Wow.
Right.
Thank you for answering the question.
I mean, I feel like this isn't one of those opportunities that everybody in the industry would be glad to have. So may I ask, how did you like identify this opportunity? Were you approached through one of those associations? Is networking important?
Yeah, well, fortunate to be working for a company that had a good resume and a good track record. And so success begets success. And so we have been able to say here in North Texas, we can't say it in other markets, but because of Toyota and State Farm and Liberty Mutual and the relationships we do have with the brokerage community and the architects and corporate America, we're really arguably a really good partner for Seritage. And so it's important to note too, all we're doing is spending time and money here marketing and coming up with pretty concepts like this. Nobody makes any money until we build a building. So we're specking our time and effort and some money putting a plan like this in place, and pursuing, you know, what could be a good opportunity. But we'll find out. And, you know, we've been wrong before. You know, the market tells us differently and it doesn't show up until 10 years later. But we think we're hitting it right. So if we'll go to the next couple slides, you can go past the next one.
This looks very pretty. I mean, I'm working pretty close by and I'm excited.
It's gorgeous and it's special. And you can go to the next one and this would be the first phase of Toll Brothers multifamily. They call it Texas Wrap. You got a parking structure in the middle and the Texas Donut the units wrap a parking structure. Again, you'll start recognizing it. And a beautiful pool above 12,000 feet of retail and restaurant space. So that's one 4-acre tract in the 23-acre facing a park. Let's go to the next slide real quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And this shows the integration, all the retail that's going to be happening, or restaurants or grocery or health and wellness at the base of all these buildings. And this, again, can go pretty, it's difficult to get this, they call it vertical mixed use integration. I kind of referenced another master plan that would have separate office, separate 7-Eleven, separate services or McDonald's. That's horizontally mixed use. Point being, the neighborhood's tied together with sidewalks and it's planned, acknowledging who your neighbors are, but you're not trying to put retail and restaurants at the bottom of an office building or a grocery store. You see the big salmon colored, a grocery with structured parking mixed with retail and an office building on top. It's hard to do, and you need grocery experts and retail experts in such a compelling location like Preston LBJ to pull this off, because it's not going to pencil, as they say. You can't do the math out off of 114 in Grapevine to build something this dense and intense, because the tenants won't pay or the consumer. Picture, it's a different shopping experience for a grocer. A lot of us really just like surface park grocery, walk in and leave. To ask a grocer to have structured parking below their store, it's just a different shopping experience. And is the shopper or the homeowner who doesn't live in the neighborhood but is going to get their groceries there, are they going to put up with a parking structure, urban environment like this? So it's a different animal and different math. But at the end, help me remind you what the math is, why this stuff does pencil in North Texas. And its short story is cost of living and the cost of this environment in California, San Francisco, Seattle, New York is 30 or 40% more, or double. So we're delivering class AA environment at a relative value to what these companies are seeing in other parts of the US. That's what's driving Texas and Austin. So let's go on to a quick video. So this is after we've asked the retail experts and our office expert selves and a multifamily partner what this thing could be. We put a pretty picture in place and we've come up with this video. We'll quickly, just a couple minutes, to try to sell it and convince the next insurance company that this place is relevant. So here's Park Heritage. It's got some music in the background you guys can go listen to later, but we're trying to, in 3D, model this thing and go, here's what could be. It'll be a little skip around, but you can see the bottom right hand corner is kind of like a day in the life of Park Heritage. Getting coffee, driving to work, getting into an office building. And it's fun here. You can, so this is what architects and media, again, you guys know what can be done today, but what used to just be some drawings are now big productions like this. There's Dallas in the background. We're communicating. It all centers around a park. And all the buildings speak, and relate to the park. And the park would have programmed, morning yoga, music. It could have farmers market on Saturdays. Again, how do you energize this neighborhood? This is obviously the potential hotel component. which because of COVID, the hotel market's just been hammered. We don't see anybody having hotel conversations for a few years, but we do have a placeholder for it in the neighborhood and see it as important. And here, you know, go to a movie, entertainment, and deliver just a beautiful place like this. So we're just marketing. This is life, get living, I think's the tagline. And then this next graphic helps communicate where again, and then the components of the neighborhood.
I think this video is really awesome because it kind of shows Park Heritage as like an experience to be at,
Yeah.
rather than just saying like, oh, these are the retail, you know, tenants that we have and stuff. And I think that's what I've been hearing over and over again, like retail and office needs to kind of center their message around an experience to be successful. So that's really awesome.
It's amazing, experiential. And the big question is, what restaurants, what retail is gonna have a business plan and be ready to figure out their next generation after COVID. But here we are in North Texas, and I hate to say it, but COVID and urban unrest are just two more reasons why people are going to be considering Texas. Quality of life, cost of living, DFW airport, and the ability to hire employees. And if you've been an employer or employee who's maybe had to deal with the realities, the cost of living in California, you can get an apartment here for $1,700, which is a lot of money, you know, until you have an $80,000 a year job. And it's like, you know what? That puts things in perspective. I think I can afford that, or I'll get a roommate. You can't do that in California and get to the end of the year and have saved any money. So the employees are going to be able to contribute to 401ks. They're going to be happier. They're going to have a 10-minute commute or a walk to work versus an hour-and-a-half commute and just, you know, a beating in that regard. So that's what's happening in North Texas. Just it's such. Yep.
Sorry, I just want to say I'm so glad that we get to experience this influx of people and knowledge, and for everybody in the real estate industry, be able to kind of take advantage of it, right?
Yeah.
Bill, I was curious. You said when we were at this slide, you said that you know, for all those different concepts like the grocery store, you need experts that have that specific knowledge. So could you just clarify for me, what is KDC's role then really in this entire development?
So we would be a master developer.
Okay.
And that's a great question. We've managed the horizontal infrastructure development, those sweeping roads, and picture all the pipes and conduit and storm water underground. So $14 million in infrastructure, electrical distribution, paving, drainage, water, and sewer. And the next step is going to be paving these streets as you see them. So we're developing these sites for Toll Brothers or these office buildings or the residential and retail. And then we will be the vertical developer for the office projects.
Mm-hmm.
And that grocer that you see there also has an office building above it. We'll probably end up building that too, but the multifamily and the hospitality hotel developers typically are their own developer. They've got their own expertise and project delivery methods. So we could be a project manager. We're not a general contractor. Interesting to note that we don't perform any of the work. We go competitively bid it. So our value proposition to Google would be, we've got the right real estate. Let's design. These buildings are not designed. These are concepts. Let's go design exactly what you need, what you want to have happen in your lobby. Do you have a cafeteria? Do you want any retail at your podium? And how many floors do you need? Is it 8 or is it 18? So that the density and the amount of square footage is to be determined, but generally it's going to be mid-rise office. And then let's go competitively bid it out, because at the end of the day, that Google or Siemens or Nokia is going to go, what's my rent? And our proposal is to do an open book, soup to nuts budget. Let's look at where all the numbers lie and figure out what your rent will be. But these buildings, if anybody's done any office searches, these might be $34 net rent buildings, or $450 a foot to build all in. But that'll compare to $55 net rents or 60 or 70 or 80 in a lot of these other markets that are just so hyper expensive. And the economics are just one reason why doing business in Texas is so compelling. Anyway, I think the next slide or two, this is what
we'd be moving on to the third topic.
Okay, yeah. Hey, and yeah, if we've got questions about where we were,
yeah,
let me know.
That would be a good time. Anybody has another question about Park Heritage and the development? Just unmute yourself.
And I would tell you that we've got on KDC.com, you can go to our work, and you'll see some other land sites, less intense, yet still extremely viable suburban office sites, and just other concept planning, but this being kind of the most intense that we've got going these days.
Right. Well, thank you so much for presenting that. I think for everybody in Dallas, really, I mean, as you said, this is like the site that it's easiest to get to from wherever you are, north, south, east, west. So it's very familiar to me because as I said, I work close by, but I'm pretty sure that all of us will drive by at some point if we head up to the Galleria or, you know, head west out to DFW. I mean, that's really a perfect location for a site.
Yeah. All
right. If there's no more questions about the case study, also feel free to ask them later at the Q&A if they just pop in your mind right now. Let's ask Bill about what are the skills that we should possess or what opportunities are out there for us in commercial real estate, and if he has any advice for us.
Yeah. Why don't you go to the next slide, please? Because what I didn't realize, I got in the business as a real estate broker, trying to do tenant representation, which I did for industrial projects, but you don't know what you don't know. But what I learned as I got into the business is just that there's so many avenues, and depending on your skill set. And I'll just start with myself. Accounting was difficult for me. I was not an Excel giant. While I understand it, and that's what helped UTD help me, is I could speak to that incredibly gifted modeling person who could do a financial model for an investment. That wasn't going to be my skill set, and so I gravitated more towards transactions and marketing. But when you look at corporate real estate, there's property management, you know, what it takes to just manage a million square foot or 100,000 square feet of office projects. And I think might be easy to start on the right too. Asset classes, there's office, there's life sciences, retail, multifamily, industrial, data centers, you know, mission critical, entertainment, and then education. So you've got different asset classes, and then the roles in corporate real estate, asset and portfolio management that's oftentimes who we deal with, somebody who's managing 15 sites nationally across the US, and they may, oh my gosh, AT&T, they're in South America, Canada, Europe. There's just, some of these portfolios are phenomenal. Or you could be a portfolio manager or an asset manager for a big REIT, real estate investment trust, or a insurance company who's investing in real estate. It's just one asset class they own along with stocks, or it could be an endowment for UTD or the UT system. They own a bunch of real estate because it's just one of those components. It might have been something we built, or it's multifamily that somebody else built, an asset class. And then there's the commercial banking side of things, the lenders who lend money to developers like us, and underwriting an investment for a bank. Tenant representation would be a broker, commercial real estate broker, and you can be on the tenant representation side, like representing a company that's looking for space, or you could do project leasing, which is, for instance, if somebody built a speculative building, or you own a building and a vacancy has occurred and you need to reoccupy 3 floors, you're doing project leasing for a real estate owner. Investment sales and acquisitions is just that. CBRE and JLL and Cushman Wakefield all have investment sales teams who are selling these assets or trying to help companies or investors buy assets. Land development is a lot about what we've been talking here, kind of positioning raw real estate into a concept plan and then developing out components. And then, of course, accounting, facilities management, which could be the engineering side of things in terms of the mechanical side of operating a big building. And then workplace strategies could be, again, that executive in the ranks of a big corporation, and they're trying to figure out how the real estate meets the needs and improves the productivity of all those employees coming and going. What do they need in terms of desks and computing, air-conditioned and facilities environments? How do you optimize your employees in the building? And who knows what I'm missing here, but point is, there's so many avenues, and getting going, I found my path by figuring out oftentimes what I didn't do well or what I didn't enjoy. And so getting in with a Cornet or getting in with a company like AT&T or whoever it might be, and if you don't know exactly what you want to be doing, you'll find opportunities, and companies will do well to help you find, where you really perform best.
Well, thank you, Bill. That's a great overview. Now, because you're such an expert in land development, is there any skill or ability or preference or, I don't know, personality characteristic that you would like to see on a resume coming in for a land development position or at a land development company?
Other than you would come with, of course, with a degree, right, undergraduate, or certainly with a graduate degree, that'll be compelling in and of itself. But it would be either maybe an internship or some working knowledge. There's the whole engineering and design side of things, and many of your UTD folks may already have all that expertise, which would be huge to understand civil engineering or design or infrastructure finance. But other than a degree which speaks for itself and a desire, it would just, and any level of exposure to commercial real estate, is going to help pave the way to,
right,
bringing somebody on.
Right. And then just, I guess, the desire to learn and absorb what knowledge and skills and soft skills that everyone has to offer, really.
Right. I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, I think that was very informative. I took a lot from, especially from the case study, but also from this talk right now. Let me actually stop sharing so maybe we can see our faces. Let me see. All right. I think I stopped sharing, so. Well, you should probably see us now in a gallery view. Our faces again. Yes, awesome, cool. I think the last point on the agenda was just the general Q&A. Now's the time to ask, but also I think because, as Bill said in the beginning, this is an amazing opportunity to get those questions out, and yeah, if anybody has a question, unmute yourself or raise your hand, either way.
And while y'all are thinking about a question, if everyone who has their camera on could smile for me, I'm going to take a quick screenshot for the website.
Bill, while Arden's teeing everybody up, I want to thank you for your awesome presentation today.
Hello, Doctor.
Hello, and I remember writing a case study when Valley View Mall, was first, acquired by the Beck Group, and the participation with the city to help promote the redevelopment of the site. But you'll have to remind me, this isn't an overnight development. This has been in play for how many years now?
Boy, it has to be 6 to 8. And, we've been ventured with Seritage for 4 of those. But to your point, there's so much that happened before it that contemplated what might could be. And then it's going to be 20 years until, and then there'll still be sites that haven't turned over yet. So yeah, it's going to be quite something to watch.
Yeah, and at the time I wrote the case study, I was relatively new to Dallas and hadn't realized that's the midpoint between Dallas and Fort Worth. And so such a critically located site like you had touched on. But yeah, I just wanted to have you point out, like you just did, that this isn't an overnight shovel in the ground and things have happened. This has been just in the planning stages since the demolishing of the Valley View Mall to where we are today. And to your point, we still have years of build out. And I think that at some point, didn't they plan a DART station to come through this site?
Yes. So there's a big regional transportation plan that someday could be connected with light rail. But for now, yeah, there's already transit plans and routing for DART stations integrated into the site, and including a conceptual dedicated tram that goes across these 430 acres. And then, the devil's in the details. Where's the money coming from, and how do you who builds what when? And so it's a fascinating juggling concept. And just for a point of reference, it would take us 3 years to build one of these awesome towers. And so from the word go, 3 years, maybe 2.5 at best. So that's fast, but still it's a long road ahead.
Yeah, and that's in this market. Other markets, it'd take you twice as long.
Exactly.
They're not as pro-growth as Texas is,
And that's part of what's compelling. Sometimes you get these companies come to town and they look at you like you're crazy because you can't get anything done in 6 years in other parts of the US. And it's like, oh, we can go if you're ready. So it's compelling.
Thank you so much. It was an amazing presentation, and Sina and Arden, excellent job. Good to see you, Bill. Thanks so much.
You too.
Well, thank you. If we don't have any questions, I think in the interest of everybody's time, we just call it a day. And we'd be happy to distribute this recording to all the other members of the Real Estate Club. And Bill, as you kindly said, we're also allowed to distribute the presentation to anybody interested. So we'll follow up with that. And yeah, Bill, I just want to thank you again so much. Yes.
I'll get you guys the Cornet avenue and figure out how we can help, and again expose you to more folks and the industry, because as Julie knows, and there's just so many avenues, and you guys are going to be so well tooled to get on a path and then figure out where you thrive.
Right, and I have to say a special thank you here because I'm actually on a Cornet scholarship. So so I would really encourage everybody, Bill, if you just send me that link via email, and then I'll just forward it to the Real Estate Club members, that everybody gets a chance to take advantage of those great opportunities.
We will do it.
Awesome, sounds great. Well, thank you so much again, and have a good one.
Yes, you guys too. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Remember to apply to Born to Build. All right. Bye, everyone.